Hey guys, so we have a unique situation today that I thought definitely warranted being documented. I just rescued a couple of red tails. They're younger, but one of them is actually pretty badly covered in mites. So we're going to make the best of a bad situation. I'm going to give you guys a little walkthrough on how to deal with a mite problem. At this point, there's a pretty strict quarantine that I've started up. Nothing is coming in or out of this room as soon as I actually touch the animals. I haven't touched them yet. When I brought them home, the first thing I did was I actually stripped down in front of the balcony, sorry to my neighbors, and threw everything I was wearing in a bag and threw it outside. I am in Canada, so it's still below freezing out, so they are getting the deep freeze for a couple of days, and eventually I'll take them straight down to the wash them with some tea tree oil. In general, actually, if you treat them kind of like head lice, it can actually work pretty well. Now I'm going to be using a few things today. The first tactic I'm going to be doing is giving them a good bath in a product called Nix. It's actually made for head lice. It's worked for me in the past, so we're going to start with that. I have some other stuff to show you guys, but I'm going to save it for the next video. We've bought a few new friends, and we've got a few breeding pairings going on, and a couple of lovely little corn snakes too. But with the quarantine going on, everybody's kind of being left alone for a little while until I get the first part started. So I will pop in and out and show you guys what I can. I mean, quarantine is the most important thing, so we're going to worry about that first and the video second. But I'll show you everything I can there. Alright, so we're getting ready to start first bath time. Sorry about the mess, this is the best I have to work with. This is not my most flattering look, but I suggest you do the same garbage bag, pajama pants that I can throw outside and not care about, and nothing else. Mites can't nest in humans and survive, but they can easily be transferred through clothing, especially their eggs. So you're going to want to make sure that everything that you have on while you're working with them is disposable or something you don't care about, because you do not want to take it outside the room if at all possible. So make sure you have everything you need before you get started. I've got two snakes, so I've got two shoebox bins here to start with, and I'm going to be using Nix. This, like I said, has worked for me in the past. It's not the strongest stuff. You can find actual mite products that probably do work a little bit better. I got these guys late at night and my local reptile store is closed, so I hopped over to the pharmacy across the road just because it was open, and that's the French side, the English side. So it's meant to kill lice in their eggs and help prevent reinfestation, as you can see. Definitely helps out, and the upside is, you know, you have some just in case. This is a multi-pack because I plan to use a lot. I do a multi-stage process when this stuff comes up. So I will crack this open and be back in just a moment. Oh, and I am wearing gloves for when I get started, so that's something to keep in mind as well. So this is the first one. She doesn't look too bad. It looks to me like a late 2013, only a couple of months old. She seems to be in good health. She's perky enough. She's kind of coiling because she's, the trip home and she's in the bag. I also don't think they've been fed in a few weeks, so she's probably getting hungry. Yeah, really beautiful snake, and I'm pretty confident that she's going to get well, really well. And actually, when I looked her over, I didn't actually see any mites, so I'm hoping that maybe she's gotten really lucky, but I'm certainly not going to skip any steps here. I want to make sure that she is nice and healthy. So it's actually the other one in the bin below her there, in the bigger bag. It seems to be a 2012, maybe older but underfed, and I'll show you that in a minute. So I'm going to get started with her, and be back with the other one. Okay, so this guy is the real problem. Like I said, it should be a female, from what I'm told, but it's in really rough shape. I just grabbed this bin in a hurry, so I didn't even get a chance to clean it out. She won't be in here for long. But this is basically a clinic on everything not to do with an animal. So as you can see, we've got a shit ton of shed stuck on this animal. And that salt and pepper on the ground is not dirt. Every single one of those is a mite. She has been rubbing against that pillowcase for about an hour and a half since I put her in there, so most of the mites on her head have faded at this point, or been rubbed off. But when I first picked her up, I could not tell mites from shed. It was just terrible. There's even some still left on there. They were on her eyes, they were on pretty much everything. I can still see a good number of them hanging on, and this is the girl that's going to need the most work. I have a feeling she might tag me tonight too, because she's really not going to like me by the end of this. We're not getting off on the best of terms. So yeah, she's a beautiful animal. She looks a little saggy, like she may not have eaten enough, but we're going to do everything we can to get her back to health. And I'm going to pull off a little bit and get this ready. I'm actually going to stick her in here and give them about 15 minutes with a bowl of water, because it occurred to me before I put them in a bath laced with mite stuff, I got to make sure they're not thirsty, because if they drink that, it is a toxin. So, alright, well, when I come back I might be bleeding, but see you in a minute. Okay, so the baths are going now. We've got the little one in here. It's about a tablespoon of the Nix to about an inch of water, and she'll keep her head out of there. I did let them have a drink, so they wouldn't be tempted to drink this stuff. Not that it's very palatable. It does smell pretty bad, and it is going to kind of zonk the animals out. I do feel bad. The male, or sorry, the bigger one, I decided that I was just going to use one of the big bins. This is more like half a bottle into an inch in there, because it's just much bigger. And I also sloshed a bunch of the water just by kind of scooping it with a bowl and threw it in the other one. So, you know, all the stuff that was on the floor there. But I'll show you this. Those little dots are actually just escaping mites. They get everywhere. It is not something to take lightly. So, I'm actually going to show you how I help prevent the spread. And it's actually simple. So we've got your standard spray bottle, and I'm going to take the rest of the bottle of Nix. There's not a lot left in there, probably another tablespoon or so. And I'm actually going to make up a little mix here. I'm going to fill it with water, fill it with Nix, shake it really, really well, and use that as kind of a deterrent around certain areas of the house. And this bathroom is getting spray painted with the stuff. So that's pretty simple. So that's the next trick. Also, this is my radar thermometer. If you don't have one, get one just in general, but did make sure the water was a nice balmy 90 degrees, and they're just having a soak for now. That big one, you saw the shed on there, it's going to sop right off after we're done too. It's kind of gross. And as they try to escape, like they're nosing around the top, they will poke their heads underwater, so that'll get its share too. So this is number one. I'll repeat this process about every other day or so for at least a week or two. I'll do it every other day for a week, and then probably every 3 or 4 days until I'm confident that it's been beaten. And then you just keep a really close eye on things for a while. You keep them on paper towel, one hide, water bowl. Change the paper towel every day, because some of the mites will crawl out of the scales, and they will, they'll hide around the paper towels and such. So I have a handful of these bins. I use them for a few things, so I've got spares. So what I'll do is I'll set them up, and then I'll take them out, I'll stick them in their bath, and then the bin will get a scrubbing with a good bit of the spray we just made, and then they'll be placed back in there with paper towel for another day or two. With enough vigilance, and if you're careful with your quarantine, that should do the trick. I will throw in an update for later tonight once they're settled into their temporary homes. So last check-in for tonight. They're both in their separate bins. They're a little small, but when you're talking about quarantine, the smaller it is, the easier it is to maintain. So they're going to make do for a week or two. I'll put some hides and water dishes in there later, but for now, because they've got that stuff kind of on them still, I'm going to leave the water dish out just so they don't accidentally contaminate it. This is what's left just from drying the big one off with the towel. It was kind of like peeling a banana, and it was not hard to say that it was kind of gross. Good news is I did not see too many really stuck under her scales. Bad news is I seem to think that there might be a respiratory infection involved here, and I'm pretty sure there's something wrong with at least one of her eyes. It may be several layers of stuck scales, I'm not sure, it looks a little off. So we'll see what we have to do about that. I'm hoping that another bath or two tomorrow might help deal with this stuff a little bit, and we'll go from there. So that's step one. The other thing I will mention, I've got 2 garbage bags here. One is for every kind of fabric that I didn't feel like throwing out, and that'll be thrown on the porch and put in the wash with some tea tree oil or Nix. So there's a few towels, a few kind of things like that. The other one is garbage, and it's going to be going straight down our chute and out the door as soon as I'm done here. Last step is to clean up the bathroom a little bit, and I will be showering and giving myself a full once over with the lice treatment, which is the handy part of actually having something that works with humans as well. I did notice one of them crawling on my arm, so never be too safe. It's gone now, but they are crafty little buggers, so we're going to play it safe. Alright, so that's the lesson that I hope I can never teach you guys again. So here's hoping this footage works out, and if things are a little rough and shaky, that is probably why, because I'm not shooting this twice for obvious reasons. So, see you next time, guys. Have a great one. Alright, so I lied. One last thing to show you. Just as I was getting in the shower, I just want you guys to see this. This is from dumping out the bin that he soaked in. All of these black dots. This is what stuck to the sides. This is what didn't make it down the drain. They seem to be mostly dead. Actually, I haven't seen any move yet. But, you know, what made it out here is just a fraction of what, you know, was there before. Most of it went down the drain. So I'm going to be washing out the tub, taking a shower, spraying the whole thing down with the Nix, and going from there.